also joined. So
Ezekiel, hello. I'm just going to start closing lots and lots of windows open. That was the contribute to platform. Great. Um, and I'm just on my laptop. So,
that
uh,
already checked that.
um, all right, close. See if I've got that one. Beginning, perfect. Okay, so keep that open, keep that open. Close that. Just close everything I can. Hopefully we'll be all right. Um, so we've got Visual Studio, Chrome, and that should be it. Perfect. Right. Let me share my screen then. Share screen. Okay, should be good. So, oh, on there. Okay, so I think we were pretty good, but what I was looking for was to try and find an opportunity to dry up like a fair amount of repetition in the specs. So let's just remind myself. So essentially, we've added the beginning of day and end of day with the sort of null coalescing, whatever you want to call it, to a bunch of scopes. And to make sure that they're all doing what we want, we're setting up a very similar test for all of those models. Um,
Yeah, I already did a bit of deduplication because Rubocop warned about too many fixtures.
got it, got it. So yeah, what I'm hoping we can do. So have I got, and I can never quite remember now because I sometimes use the community for and sometimes use um, the canonical project. So you're going to have to bear with me while I try and remember how to, what are they called? Community. Did I get that right? Looks promising. Awesome. So we're on your branch. I'm just going to make sure we're all good. So for all of these, we've got awarded between, added between, added between, opened between. So here's what I've got in mind. So what shared? Um, so we've got a whole bunch of shared examples already. So they're sitting in support. Maybe not the best place for them, but let's try. So let's copy this and to what are we going to call it? Between shared examples. And what we're going to do is, okay, so
I'm still quite new to Ruby, to be honest. So can you just quickly explain what these shared examples are?
yes, what we can do, let's find one of the existing examples. So we look at this one. So we basically define this kind of expectation, and we're saying that we're going to double the track activity service. We're going to mock the execute method to return true. We're going to allow this to receive new and return this stubbed service. Then we're going to call HTTP request. And then we're going to expect the stub to have received. So basically that the execute method will have been called. So what what's quite funny here is it looks like actually that this isn't used. So it looks like we've actually got a redundant file that we can remove here. So that was a terrible example. So let's get rid of that one and try another one. So we've got pagination shared examples. So for this one, we've got, an expectation that it responds with the expected metadata, that when the page param is passed, it returns the expected records. When a page size param is passed, is not provided, it does something. So we've got a bunch of expectations, and hopefully this one is better than the last one that I found was actually not used anymore. Come on. But yeah, the expectation is that there will be a number of, I don't know whether it's controllers or models or services or whatever, that all kind of exhibit this same behavior. So sometimes we pass in some arguments, sometimes we don't need to pass arguments. Sometimes we can just use let to pass stuff back and forth. Wow, that's getting slow. Let me just open another.
So this mocking thing and expect to be called is basically the same like having a spy in VTest or something.
Yes, exactly. In this instance, I don't think there's any spying going on. Oh, it's finally opened up in the other window. But yeah, so we can see these shared examples are referenced in three different controllers that all exhibit this paginated behavior. So rather than kind of copying and pasting the same bunch of I suppose it would be all of these tests. So 100 lines of tests, we just can say it behaves like this, and then we can pass in some arguments. So I'm hoping we can do something similar for here. So if we take the issue spec, for example, and we've got the tweet. So if we take everything from there and we pop it into this between shared examples. Now, at the moment, there's going to be some hard-coded stuff in here, I guess. So this is issues. So we probably want to move that out. Maybe that's kind of the setup. We'll put it behaves like scope. So we've got a user and we're creating some issues. So here we're explicitly calling opened between. So I guess what we probably need to do is use like a subject. So we'll do. We know there's always a from and a to. So we'll do. Remember which way around it is, but if we do subject between scope and sure if that will call the method. I think we might have to do like a, how do you do it? What's the way to do it? Subject between. Let's do that quickly. So how do I aspect delegate, I think is what we want. Actually got an issue, I think, in our backlog. Wish I knew the terminology a bit better. Allow updating issues in our milestone. No, it's not that.
So just for maybe helping a bit, I put the question about in my I use Cursor for a lot of the editing.
Right.
Um and I asked it to extract shared logic into a shared example. It came up with uh I don't think I can put it into the chat because the message is too long. I
You
can send
could.
it in Discord.
Why don't you pop it on the MR if it's quite a long one, you can use this collapsible section, but then just kind of put a really code block and then I can just take it out there. It's good for others to be able to see that.
True. I'll do that.
I think this is what it should look like, but so this is the method I want to call. So between scope, I want to do like this. So I want to replace all of the hard coded.
I mean, it's not like super long, it's just too long for Zoom chat.
No worries. See, I think I'm close, but probably not quite there. If you've shared that, see how similar you're. Yeah, I think the problem is what I've done here is that we'll actually call the method without the argument. So yeah, we might just have to.
But yeah, given how little experience I do have with Ruby, I couldn't really validate how useful that is.
Yeah, so this is what's happening with mine because I'm basically saying alias this to this. Um, it's calling that it's calling that directly. I'm fairly sure it's something like this. Let's just have a look what your user is like. It behaves like so it's passing the factory, the scope, and the date field. And then how is it? Oh, okay. Describe class public send. Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, I like that. So scope. So we're doing it as a symbol. Scope. So we can do.
This public send seems to be equivalent to reflection in Java, right?
Yes, yes. I think 2020. Aha, beautiful. But yeah, so that's still leaving this in here. So I quite like what this example was doing, where it was passing the factory as well. Um, so um, yeah, we could do. So I think we're always doing a user, so we can move that for sure into here. And then yeah, so they calling them in here. Test records. Yeah, that's nice. Okay. That makes it easier to.
Um, you're formatting a lot of the stuff by hand. Isn't that done by Rubocop automatically, or?
How do you mean formatting?
Yeah, just for my for future work.
So Rubicop just like looks for, I don't know what I call it, like formatting type stuff. I mean, it does sometimes when it can suggest a slightly nicer way of doing things, but at the moment I'm just kind of doing a refactor almost, I'll call it. So I was trying to, what was this called before I removed the issue? So what's the difference between test issues? I don't really understand. I think we'll just go with that one. So yeah, all I wanted to do is replace all the references to issues, because although they're issues in this instance, they won't always be issues.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, going forward. So let's just replace all that with records. I don't really know why this one has the test prefix. I don't think it needs it, but I guess we'll find out in a minute. So test records.
Is there any like nice way to interpolate in the test string, so instead of using records you could use like the thing that's actually being tested?
I think we probably could actually, yeah.
That's
We can
probably a
try
bit
that.
bit nicer when debugging tests than having record everywhere.
Yeah, yeah, we can try that. So I'm expecting I've probably broken something there. No, it's still passing, which is good. But what I'm not doing at the moment, this is still hard coded to issue. So we do need to pass let factory. Still works. And what else were they passing here? Date field. Okay, yeah, that makes sense as well. Because this time it's open date, but it could be something else. So, yeah, cool. So, Great. Pass, hopefully. And then if that's still passing, then yeah, we can either apply that to all the others or no, broken that. What's that not happy with? It wasn't created at, was it? Was opened at. I'm guessing you were in a different one when you asked it to refactor it. Because this was, yeah, this was bonus points where we're interested in the created at.
Oh yeah, the files that were attached to context were node and merge requests.
Date. And fingers crossed. Beautiful. Right. So yeah, I like your idea about records is a bit generic. So let's see if we can yeah, let's see if we can improve that. So let's start by, so I think what we want to do is change this to be interpolated, and we'd want this to be factory. Let's try just string for now, just see if that works. Doesn't like that. Ah, interesting. Don't know how to avoid that. If we pass it like they suggest, maybe we can. So do that. Still doesn't like it. Missing keyword factory. It's because I need to say is lovely. And it sprints issue there. So I can now go through and pluralize. Very optimistic, making up methods as we go. Issues, yay. So now I could use regular expressions, but I don't think there's enough to really warrant it. I think I'll just go through and records, 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 records.
Is there like any reason to use the single quotes ever?
So single quotes are always preferred when there's no interpolation. I suspect, although I am sort of yeah going on a massive assumption here, that single quotes, it knows it doesn't have to do interpolation, so it's faster. Whereas double quotes, it has to check like whether there's an interpolation needed.
Fair
Issues, issues,
enough.
issues, 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 issues. That looks fairly promising. The only thing I'm not sure if I like here is that we're like mixing like what we're passing and how we're passing. I think I like having the subject defined in this way differently, but I think I'm gonna have the factory and the date field both passed in the same way. And then we'll have the factory and the date field. Hopefully that will still work. Lovely. So hopefully we can now go to the merge request spec and do the same thing. So for open between, So it's the open date. So just make a note of that, and that's the factory, and scope is opened between. So I should be able to get rid of all of this. Copy this couple of lines, pop them in here. So the between scope is open between, so that's actually the same.
Open date also seems to be the same.
The same, yeah. And then it's just the factory that needs to change. Whoops. Hopefully. Don't really need to run the whole spec, but it's pretty fast. So, and you can see that they all say merge request, merge request, merge request. So it looks good. Oh, wait a minute, that's open between, which is this scope here. So that does look good, but we can actually repeat exactly the same. So again, it makes a massive difference, like removes a good few hundred lines of code in this spec. So that's merged between scope, and now I didn't make a note of what the it's in it's merged at. Or it might be merged date. Beautiful. Now, do you want me to push that and you continue that refactor, or should we?
That sounds good, yeah.
Yeah, cool, perfect.
Because then I can also use it to learn a bit more.
Excellent. So we did last activity. What did we change with last activity? Shared examples. Didn't think I made a change. Oh, deleted. Oh, yeah, that was the one that wasn't used, wasn't it? Yeah. It's a bit scope creep if we remove that in this MR. I'm happy to do it. I'm also happy if you wanted to raise a separate MR to remove this this shared example suite that I don't believe is used anymore.
I'll create a separate MR.
Perfect. In which case I will restore that. So we've just got those changes.
Yeah, it's a win-win situation. It prevents scope creep and it gets me more points on the contributor platform.
Absolutely, absolutely. Examples for between scopes. And I think I need to do, oh God, can I do HTTPS or was it git push Unity? Will that do? I think that's worked. Beautiful. Cool. Ezekiel, have you got any questions? You got anything that you we can help with?
Oh, I not at all. Just came to view for now.
Cool. Absolutely. We're happy for lurkers. Absolutely. So, Eve, anything else that you wanted to have a poke around with?
There's two other things we could look at, or maybe one and a half. First one is the metrics I mainly have open in the CLI right now. Jay mentioned some remotes put there, but when I checked, they seem to be private in the bottom. Maybe do you know something about that there?
So was it? I've attached my remotes so they should be public.
At least the remote in the GitLab org group seems to be private. Or
Interesting.
at least when I try to access it, I get a 4-4.
Okay. So I'm not going to access it myself right now on the screen share because I suspect, like, if it's private, there's a reason. But at the same time, if Jay's made his one public, then it makes me kind of question that. But I guess we should just ping and ask the question. Um, Let me stop sharing and just triple check that I can see that and that it is a private repo. It's possible. Ah, yeah, you can see what I think. Oh no, it is private. That path isn't quite right. Let me just share my screen again. Like I copied and pasted this path, which just obviously that's GitLab.org, whereas this is
Yeah,
GitLab.com. So, but yeah, it's still private. So I will say uh, um, so what was it a sort of test case that wasn't working for Jay, and he was trying to allow you to recreate that scenario essentially?
um, I think so, yeah. I mean, not specifically, I think a test case. The test cases were all passing, but when you tried to do it, actually, that happened. I had issues with that lost track of fucked repo. I actually added that message in this MR. But on my end, I already had fixed it for everything I've tried. The only like inkling that I have what it might be, but I think I tried it and some of it didn't work. Sorry, not didn't work, but I couldn't reproduce it, was that it was with because of a nested path, but I need to check that again. But yeah, my main question here was about the path.
Okay. It's definitely a private project, but I've pinged Jay. I can see you did earlier today anyway.
Yeah,
Some people do only see app mentions, but also it's possible just time zone, etc. So hopefully Jay will come back
yeah.
and confirm, maybe even provide another project with the same behavior.
Yeah, I'm still a bit hesitant to actually add ping people, but that's probably just me being used to other projects.
Oh yeah. Especially if Jay's reviewing this and working together with you. So yeah, and team
Yeah,
member, like we're super appreciative. You're volunteering your time to contribute to the project. So we're always happy to help.
yeah. Yeah, I think the other MRF open there's not really much that needs any changing, or there's not much question, but I can probably also um the, the the question is when should I ping somebody? Um, how long between them being assigned as reviewer and
Right. Yeah. So
like, yeah, 7 hours, of course I won't ping them already, but
no,
just
yeah. So it's a good question. We've got like a guide or an aim or a target or whatever you want to call it to try and do reviews within 2 days or 2 working days. Like we'll really work Monday to Friday. In reality, sometimes I'd say sort of it can take 3 or 4. I would say if this one was passed for review 7 hours ago, so earlier today, then I would probably say, let's give Thursday, Friday, like maybe Monday or Tuesday, if you haven't heard anything, then
All right.
drop a little follow up. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, this isn't like super urgent. It's just at least currently the build relies on Docker and Docker. And I have pull mirrored that repo to my own private instance. And not all runners there support Docker and Docker.
Mm-hmm.
And if I would go in and add the tag for the runner in the GitLab CI YAML, that would break the pull mirroring. So
Yeah, so quick question. Like I'm a maintainer for this group as well. I haven't heard of Builder myself before. I know I sort of I've used or I'm using a Canico, I think. Is that another sort of container builder? Does
yeah,
that still need Docker in Docker or
Canico doesn't need Docker and Docker, but Canico isn't really maintained anymore. That's also
okay?
mentioned in the GitLab docs, and it mentions to use Builder. Let me pull up the page.
Okay.
I think at least it mentions that.
All right. I ping Raymond on my team actually just to ask if he's used it at all before.
Yeah, there's this in the docs, and this was the issue about it being unmaintained, but I think there was also something about it in the docs. Yeah, the use Kanika to build Docker images page. It even has the tag removed and says Kanika is no longer a maintained project and links to that issue. And links to use Docker to build Docker images, Builder, Podman to run documents, or Podman with GitLab run and Kubernetes instead. So I thought Builder was an appropriate solution here.
So, oh, yeah, I'm pretty comfortable. I'm almost comfortable enough to merge this now myself. But I've just pinged Raymond on my team. So feel free to nudge me like on Discord or
All
whatever,
right.
maybe sort of late tomorrow or early Monday or whatever if you haven't heard back as well, and I can always merge this as well. I don't see any major concerns. I don't know if there's a way to so tags logs in and pushes as a test image. Yeah, but I don't know if there's an easy way of kind of comparing and seeing if what it builds is the same, or like I presume we don't have any tests in here, or are we testing the image that's being created?
I mean, the image is pushed at least the latest. So you
Let me
could
just
probably somewhat compare it with Dive.
so what do we so we build test release build image. Scanning. Where does container scanning? That's this job. And this is build image. So I'm just a little bit confused. Oh, okay. Okay, build image. And then we've got this one, which is container scanning. So why? I'm really confused why we've got this job. So this is building the container scanning image. What is this bit? I'm a bit like stuck in some kind of perpetual loop here. So
Let me check.
I don't quite understand why we're building we're building an image here and then isn't container scanning building an image as well?
So the Docker file is just a hello world.
Oh,
I don't see the actual template building
Oh, okay,
image.
okay. I think I might understand. Get my brain around it a little bit. So this builds the container scanning image. This is the one you're replacing with Builder.
Exactly. The thing that's just creating is just an image that can be test scanned in the CI to make
Yes,
sure um the component works.
got it. Got it. So you're not actually modifying the component as such,
Exactly.
because the component keep going into the wrong one.
Yeah, I'm not modifying anything about this. This is just so I can
Awesome.
use the thing on my
Awesome.
GitLab
Cool. Perfect.
instance.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, let's. I'm gonna give Tiago a day or a couple of days. Give
Hmm.
Raymond a day or whatever. But yeah, give me a nudge if you don't hear anything, and I'll merge it. I'm pretty
Yeah.
comfortable with that.
All right. Yeah, I'm probably also gonna look through some of the other components and see if there's anything similar that prevents them from being easily used and self-managed.
Yeah. Awesome. No, it sounds great. Um, yeah, maybe it's even something I don't know where we would put it. But definitely something that I think we should share internally. Um, because as I say, I wasn't really familiar. Probably most people that are using Docker to build their own images maybe is a bit more familiar here. But yeah, I
Yeah,
appreciate being educated and going forwards. I will now favor it over Docker or Kaneko.
yeah, I mean, Docker in Docker can work. It's a valid solution, but it has some issues with you needing to make the runner privileged, which is security-wise a bit um let's say iffy. I mean, maybe bigger attack surface. And well, you need to specifically pass the Docker socket into the runner, which is requires actually modifying the runner config itself. And then you also have some fun around doing if you need any certificates, you need to actually mount those. But if you have two jobs that run concurrently, they override each other's certificates and fail. So Docker and Docker, if not done exactly correctly, is not easy.
That's interesting. So this is the component that I'm using to build the image for the contributor platform. And I'm sure, like when I last looked at it, like it only supported Kaneko or Docker, but it actually supports Builder now as well. So if we look at inputs build tool, I guess the default is maybe Kaneko.
The nicest
Yes.
thing for CI components, of course, would be if one could if there was like a central registry that everyone could use, but that gets complicated really quickly.
You mean so you didn't have to mirror them to
Yeah,
self-hosted or
like
absolutely.
you have something like Maven Central for Maven stuff, something like that for GitLab. CI components would be really nice.
Absolutely, and it's definitely something that I know is like an issue or an epic, and that we want and everyone wants, but I don't know where in terms of priority it sits, and even how in terms of complexity, how achievable it is. I don't see why it should be that complicated, but I also don't know how it works under the hood. But the way I see it is that we're already we already put a fully qualified path in here. So there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to put one which was reaching onto a different server.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I could
right.
see there being some complications around permission management and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think maybe needing some kind of CI variable or something that you can store some kind of token. But especially if we just allowed you to do public at first,
Yeah.
that I think it's should be achievable. But
And it would also be a lot nicer if you didn't need to do it like with the include, but you could do more of a GitLab Actions-ish thing where you could do something like use or something like create a job definition, say, hey, use this, and then it uses this.
yeah, that'd be pretty
Because you
cool.
usually you can only, I think, have one include block in the thing. So that's the big issue I have with components now, that you can only have one include block where you can include them. And that like breaks up the execution um order.
Oh,
So you
okay.
can't read it
Yeah,
from top to bottom.
yeah, yeah. Got it. Yeah. I wondered, do you think CI steps would that help or not really?
Um Mostly what I have not seen that specific.
I haven't used them. I think they're still classed as experimental.
Yeah, I haven't used them either. Yeah, basically all I'm looking for, yeah, that basically just syntax to include them locally.
Got it.
Wait,
Got it.
you can use GitHub Actions?
Apparently.
Okay, that is actually really cool.
You take it for a spin for me and let you know how you get on.
I think it will. I think it might only be able to use the ones that are actually Docker images, though maybe. Because a GitHub action can either be a Docker image or some JavaScript.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
The reason that when I have time to experiment, the reason I'm mainly interested in CI steps is because at the moment I have some CI components that kind of have dependencies, if that's the right word. So let's say markdown lint, and I want to include like the markdown configuration. But at the moment, like you would have to either build a Docker image, which is overkill a lot of the time, or you have to find a way of kind of like maybe using curl or wget or something to pull any dependencies onto the into the container that is running the CI job. Whereas steps, from what I understand, allow you to have like a bunch of scripts, for example, with some dependencies. So, but I have to confess to not having tried it yet.
As for inputs more generally, are they only strings or can they also be like references to files? Like, is there only a string type?
So I don't know with steps. With components now, we support arrays, booleans, strings, numbers. I think that's it. I saw an MR to add support for hashes a while ago, but that sort of didn't. That's sort of blocked at the moment because I think there's some more underlying conversations that need to happen before that can go through.
Yeah, when you're doing hashes, you're probably better off actually just adding those inputs
Yeah,
distinctly.
I think I saw some sort of scenarios where people need to be able to, I don't know, pass arbitrary variables or something like that. But I also do some. So where am I doing? Where we include components and then we cheat and we just I don't know what you call it here, like override the, in this instance it's the rules. But yeah, so if the component doesn't easily expose what you want to configure or override, or it's a hash, for example, then you can just kind of cheat like this anyway. So
yeah, in general I've been making a lot of use of YAML anchors and the reference keyword.
yeah. Cool.
It would just be nice if the reference keyword worked for more than just script and before script. I think it still doesn't work for rules.
I've definitely seen it used for rules. Which project have I seen it used for rules? I mean, where have I seen it?
I mean, it's been like a quarter since I actually checked out, tried to do that, so it might have changed in the like free versions that released since then, but it's an exclamation point reference, I think. Without the S at the end.
Yeah, I saw one.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's definitely scripts rules. Yeah.
Does it also correctly work with a mixture of reference and inline declaration? That's the bigger question, probably.
Yes, I'm sure I've seen that as well. Not in this file, but definitely elsewhere. Because my understanding is, again, that this isn't really a feature of GitLab, it's a YAML feature, so it's just
I think the reference tag is actually a custom tag.
oh,
At
okay,
least, at
okay.
least I needed to define it as a custom tag in the YAML language server uh in VS Code.
It is
Like,
then. Okay, cool.
I mean, what are they called? YAML anchors, of course,
That's standard, right?
that's standard, but that doesn't allow for selectively choosing
Yes.
things,
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
mixing and matching.
But yeah, give it a try with rules. I'm fairly sure that
I will, yeah.
that'll work. Yeah. Awesome. Right. Time for me to put my feet up now, I think. Thanks for joining and thanks helping with the
Thank you.
contributor platform.
No
Don't forget to
worries.
raise that other nice easy MR as well.
Will do.
Have a
Thank
great
you for the
day.
help. You too.
Anytime.
Bye.
Catch you later. Bye bye.